Hi. Hey, everybody. Excellent. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Okay.
There. I can hear you.
There you go. Okay, good,
We
good.
can hear you too.
Hey,
All right.
Hey, everyone. Oh, this is great. We're going to have a great group today. I can tell. Everybody wants to tell their stories here. Move over,
All right.
Swami.
Yeah.
Let's get people over here.
Just so we, you know, at the beginning, though, we have been having a little trouble with our internet access. We live way out at the end of the road, and we only come through our own satellite dish. So sometimes it just doesn't quite work as well as we like. But we'll just carry on and.
Oh, this is a great group of everybody coming in. Well, hello.
Okay, Heidi. All righty, Vincent. Okay.
So
Rick. All righty, great.
I hope you all got your good stories planned up here. And we're trying to figure out how we're going to do this. I guess we'll just kind of go around and ask people what they got to say. And I think the first question for everyone will be, you know, when did you first get high and where did that happen, sort of thing. That's always a good starting point. And then hopefully you all have some juicy, good little cannabis story you want to share with us today. And this will be fun to hear it from you guys before we take on our little hiatus for a while as we get ready for more gardening and harvest.
Right. Okay. So we'll wait a little bit for some other people to come on, and then
Heidi, you look really happy. I like that.
And
I'm stoked to be here.
Yay, good, Ed. How's the Ganger going, Ed?
Wonderful, wonderful.
Great.
Yes, absolutely fabulous. Meeting new people every day, and with a common vision and a common goal, and it's a good to reconnect with a lot of people and meet some new folks.
Okay, all right.
I really love that Ganger program that you and all have created. It's something that I've thought about for years and years and years, and I never put the rubber to the road. And it's wonderful to see it being manifested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who might not know what we're talking about here, Nikki and I were part of what became known as the Ganger Council. And Ganger is a term we kind of stole from the wine industry, where they have an expert in wine classification is called a sommelier. There's even a movie about it called Soma, about how difficult it is to get a certification as a wine expert. And I think there's only 100 couple worldwide or something. So with various people we created, there's Wilbur, we created a program for evaluating cannabis. And it's a whole course that you sign up for, and it's run through Green Flower Media. And then in addition to courses online and various reading and so on, there's also some in-person classes that are happening this month in various places, mostly up in the Emerald Triangle at the One Log House.
Yeah.
And but anyway, the essence of the program, or the heart of the program, is what we call the Standards Assessment Protocol, or SAP. I'm not sure I like the SAP part, but the protocol is great. And once you sign up and pay your dues, then you get a phone app with the various classifications for evaluation. The course has history of cannabis going way back. Frenchie teaches the part that goes from 250,000 to 25 million BC, when cannabis first appeared, and then I cover the more recent stuff, and then Amanda Ryman covers the 20th century, about the history of cannabis. And there's the science of cannabis, different ways of cultivating, indoor, outdoor, and so on.
Making concentrates.
I
even teach the etiquette part.
Yeah.
So we'll be teaching our first live class coming up at the end of this month up there with the students, which will be fun. But wait, I have a question. Wilbur, are you at the ballpark? Play ball.
Play ball. I see. It's in his background and so on. All right.
I like that.
Wilbur's up in Maine, so he's probably not in Boston, I shouldn't think. But anyway. So anyway, the Ganjé program, this standard assessment program, has 4 parts. One is to evaluate the looks, then you do the fragrance, and then you do the taste, and then finally the effects. And you end up with a number at the end, which kind of gives you a way to evaluate one cannabis cultivar against another. So we just launched it this spring. We've had a lot of enthusiastic response.
We've had a lot of like what it's. What was that? Who had a question?
All right, never mind.
Okay, so it's kind of like the what we do for the Emerald Cup judging, in a sense, but it's really designed mostly for people that, you know, that are bud tenders or buyers, or the people that are actually going to have to share the information with the customer. Like the sommelier is the guy that tells the the person who's buying the wine at the restaurant what they're going to get. So it's that kind of event. Yeah. Well, I think we've got a good group here already. Right. I mean, I'm ready to dive in. We don't have to wait till 4:20, do we?
Well, I'm going to light up right now, actually. And and yeah, let me just do that.
Okay, he's ready.
So as Nikki said, what we're going to go here is your own stories, and maybe you always start out with when's the first time you smoked dope, and who'd you smoke it with? So
maybe we should start it off, Swami.
Now there's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, you go first.
Okay. So I first got high in 1969. I was 14 years old, living in San Francisco.
A flower child.
Well, no, I wasn't yet a flower child. I was trying to decide whether I would basically become a nun when I grew up or a flower child. Obviously, the nun didn't win. So, but I considered it. I always had a spiritual streak. And I was in my neighborhood, went over to a guy named Jim Harris who had a garage band in his garage, you know, right out in the Richmond district in San Francisco. And when I went into Jim Harris's garage with a couple of other kids, you know, we were all like 14 to 16 years old or so, and they had some marijuana, and that was a trip. So I said, okay, I'm going to go for it. And I just remember, you know, taking several hits, and like they say, the first time you don't get all that high, but I didn't really realize if I was high, you know, because you're not quite hip yet to what it feels like. But I did notice that as I walked home with Kathy Applegarth, my friend, after it was over, and we went by the local little corner grocery store, we stopped in and we got all of these candies, and we went crazy on this candy. I remember M&Ms never tasted so good, you know, and so it took off from that. And basically by about 2 months after that, I'd done some mescaline, and about 3 months after that, I was selling lids to my friends at school. So that's kind of my history, how it all started back at 14. Yeah, 4-finger lids, exactly, Vince. Right. And Swami, what about you? When did you first get high?
Well, I came to it much later. I was much older than 14. And I have to say that I was kind of a pretty straight academic. And, you know, I've been studying German literature and stuff like that. So I ended up at the University of Wisconsin in Madison.
What year?
That was probably 1969, I guess. 68. No, wait. No, it was earlier than that. 67.
Did you go to the University of Wisconsin, Robert? Sorry,
I'm Wisconsin located.
Okay,
Wisconsin.
Right now. I'm located in Wisconsin, but my buddy went to Madison. So we used to smoke on the Muir Trail up there by Madison.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, I came back from studying in Germany in 1966 and went to the University of Wisconsin. And it was the spring of 67 that I smoked my first joint with Susan Darcy, who I was seeing at the time. And then she had an apartment in the student ghetto at Wisconsin. And I remember she played this amazing music by I think it's Alan Hovhaness, called Mystical Mountain or something like that. It just totally tripped me out. I was very into music, but I heard it in a whole another way. It was really, really great. But at that time, Wisconsin was a center of anti-war political action. The committee, the National Committee to End the War in Vietnam, was centered there. So I was very active in the anti-war movement. And so it was kind of like, once I started smoking dope, I kind of went away from the heavy political action, demonstrating and all that. And then that summer in '67, which you might remember was the Summer of Love, the woman Susan and two other friends of mine who were in the art school at Wisconsin, we drove out to San Francisco in the summer and landed on Haight Street and smoked a joint on Hippie Hill and so on. So that was kind of like the end of my political action career, and more totally now dedicated into art and photography and getting stoned. So, yeah, it was a great time in that. So I beat you by 2 years, I think, except I was 24 and she was 14, right? So anyway, but you know, it's curious, when we went to get our cannabis permit from the state, they had this thing where we had to get fingerprinted, and that was sent to the FBI. And so we both then got a thing from the state saying, we have this, you're on record for these criminal offenses and so on. We can't give you a permit till you clear that up. So I was actually arrested in Wisconsin for demonstrating against the war in Vietnam, and it was too close to the polling booth. So I was actually arrested and spent the night in jail. And then I think eventually the charges were dropped, but because it was an anti-war protest and we got fingerprinted, those fingerprints went to the FBI. But the people at California Food and Agriculture, they got kind of a chuckle out of that. And then Nikki,
it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing they still have this stuff on file. You know? Yeah. For me, they had it on file that I had taken a mango off of a tree in Hawaii back in like 1974, I think it was. And the person who owned the farm actually busted me and had me arrested for taking a mango off their tree. And these were serious offenses. I want you to know. I mean, very serious offenses. Yeah. So, you know, we had to cop clean, and they just kind of thought it was funny. They didn't know about the time I got busted in Afghanistan, because those files are long lost. So this was all that counted right there. Right. But so, okay, I think we're ready to start around. Let's Gregory, why don't we start with you? You're right up there in the corner.
That's fine. Begin.
Good, go for it. So when did you first get high, Gregory? Where was that?
Well, I was 18. I was newly married. I was living in Westlake. That's south of San Francisco. And a couple high school buddies came over with a joint, and we passed it around, and I just got silly as hell. I started pantomiming that I was fishing, you know, and I don't know what that was connected to, but that was the first time.
Fishing, that's funny. And do you have any special cannabis story you want to share with us besides that? Well, I mean, you're growing some great little plants now out there.
Yeah, it's rough now. We're down in the fog, but the only story that comes to me that's really rewarding is when I met Swami, and he may not remember the time. It was in the north end of Golden Gate Park, a little south of Stanton Street. Very sunny afternoon. He was sitting below a cypress tree, and a lot of people were gathered around, and I was fortunate enough to be one of them who got a toke on the joint. You know, I gotta go. I got the PG&E here right now, so I'll come back to you later.
No. Okay. We'll come back when it's gone.
For the story. Okay.
Good luck with that, Gregory.
All
Thanks.
Right. So who do we go to next, Nikki?
How about Rick? Rick, we know that you've got quite a history. I have to tell you, that was a great session a couple of weeks ago when you told us all your stories about being major smuggling. I mean, wow. Wow.
You know, I was kind of thinking about all of that. And one point I kind of missed that I wanted to mention. I've been called a counterculture hero. And I wanted to say, I think it's bigger than me. I think everybody in your audience probably falls into that category, because we've hung around for all these years and been persistent with what we were doing. And now we're like the old gurus, I suppose. So I think we're all counterculture heroes. And I just wanted to share that with you. You heard about my stories last week, and we could go on and on and on, you know, maybe for another time or something, but I've got a zillion of them if we wanted to get, I don't want to monopolize your show here. So, you know, but
no, I'd love to have you come back when we come back after harvest, when we start up again. I'd love to have you come back and tell us some more of those.
Oh, I would love to do it. You know, we could, like I said, I could sit on that couch with you guys and we could go on and on and on. I want to do that one of these days.
All right, you're welcome.
Please.
You know, we used to call it a hero of the Cultural Revolution.
There you go. And that's that. Yeah. I think we're all part of it.
Those of us who are still around, but we want to pay homage to all those people who aren't still around in one way or another. People who were there with us, and people who are the, you know, intrepid growers up in the mountains, and the people, you know, driving the cars around, and
they're all part of this big group.
They are, yeah. And there's kind of an alumni association that we have in our minds, right?
Yes.
It's an imaginary alumni association. So anyway,
I don't think it's imaginary. I think it's real.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting how, you know, somehow we all knew, even back when we first started getting high, that this was a good thing. You know, I never felt like it was evil. I never, ever, even at 14, I was right away. It was like, this is good for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
that brings up another little story. I could give you a quick story here. When I was on trial, and I felt the same way you did. I'm a good person. I've never done anything wrong. The prosecuting attorney painted me like the devil. And it was a real eye-opener, because I was going, whoa, are you kidding me? That's not me. That couldn't be me. But that's how they painted that picture.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
No, because we just knew. I think instinctually we knew that, you know, none of us called it medicine back then, but it was medicine. It was helping us, you know, whether we were like, you know, overactive teenagers or whatever it was, we somehow knew it, you know, and our bodies told us this is good.
Yeah, but we're still dealing with that stigma. We're still dealing with that stigma that they love to play out, right? And the thing is, now we've learned that, you know, the history of cannabis goes back thousands and thousands of years, and it's been a sacrament in many religions and so on. So we just have to keep putting that message out, and the fact that, and then, you know, that we knew that it was something, like Nikki said, we always knew it was, and it also helped us not believe in government, which was kind of combined with the Vietnam War. The government was telling us lies about the war. They were telling us lies about cannabis. And so how could you really trust them at that point, you know? So
question authority. I think that was the thing. Question authority.
That was a good bumper sticker.
Always love that.
So let's go on. Vincent, does your sound work? You've never had trouble. You've had trouble with your sound. Can you come on and see?
There you go.
Okay, here I am. Is it working?
All right. So you got a story about when you first smoked? Oh, you're not working. Your sound's off again.
Let's see. It's showing that it's on.
It's a poor signal. It must be a bad signal or something like that.
Darn. We need sign language with you.
Yeah, we need someone to sign for us.
Well, we'll come back to you. Maybe it'll work later. Okay.
All right. So who do you want to do next?
Let's go down on our screen. Sorry about that. That's Tipu barking. Is Megan. Megan, what about you? Hi.
Hi, Swami. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Tipu.
Hi.
Nice to see you guys. First time I smoked was probably around 21, but like you were saying, I don't think it really counted. But I think I really started getting into smoking at 24, somewhere like Swami. And my first time, I think I was with my good friend. I'm from New York. We were in Brooklyn, and we were walking out, like way out deep into Brooklyn. It was just like one of those nights where you just keep walking, and we were just giggling and finding fun in every single thing we saw. So yeah, since then I was pretty much, it opened a whole new world for me, and I really felt like a deep connection to it pretty early on from then. And yeah, 2 years later, I was at your farm, so staying with you guys. So yeah, that's how quickly it escalated, I guess. It really became really quickly.
And you're still in New York, are you?
Yes, yes.
Great.
Okay.
Great. Oh, that's exciting. And so how's it back there in New York now that it's all opened up? Does it feel free and easy?
Yeah, it does. It's getting back to normal, as people are saying. But it's really nice to just see people out and about doing stuff. Yeah.
Cool. That's a great feeling. Good. Cool. It's great to see you, Megan.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And let's see, Wilbur, what do you got for us there at the ballpark?
Well, I guess mine started about 1975. I had a brother that was 6 years older than me. So he was like 19. And he was working at a paper mill, making pretty good money and hanging out with these 1% bikers. And they were making trips to Florida. They weren't going down there for green stuff. They were coming back with white stuff, but they started bringing green stuff back. But that's not when I first got high. That's when I first realized there was something going on in my house, because my brother started having all these visitors, and they were little 10-minute visits, if you get what I mean, just coming for a second and leaving. So I was trying to find out what he was doing. And in his clothes hamper, he had a false bottom, and he had all these big bags of cannabis in there. And so shortly after that, my dad committed suicide, and I was standing downtown. It's probably like 2 weeks after that. And I was standing downtown on Main Street, and I was just looking in a store, and all of a sudden this car pulls up behind me. And it was this older friend that was in between my brother and I, Shane Williams, and he had his dad's like 64 or 65 Lincoln Continental, big black car with the suicide doors, absolutely beautiful car, unbelievable. And he says, "Mikey, what are you doing?" And I turned around and I says, "Nothing." He says, "You want to go for a ride?" And I said, "Sure." So he got out, he let me in, and there was another guy from the big city of Bangor in there. And I didn't know him, and his name was Chris. So we were driving out the road, and all of a sudden they said, "Do you want to get high?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll try it." And they had a pipe, and they started blowing me shotguns. And I must have had 10 or 12 hits off this thing. And we drove about 2.5, 3 miles, and we went down on this old road, this old maple tree road. It's an old dirt road. And Shane put his foot over the center console and just totally matted the car right to the metal. And the car started fishtailing and going all over the road. And Chris is trying to keep it on the road. The next thing you know, we went off the road into this big hayfield. We're just doing about 70 across this hayfield. And all of a sudden there was this big explosion, just bang. And we were looking straight up and come down with another big bang. And when we opened up the doors and rolled out like a Cheech and Chong movie, the smoke rolling out and looking around, we had hit a humongous boulder in the middle of this hayfield and bent the car. I mean, the car was totaled. And so we get out, we stumble through the field. There's about 4 feet of hay. You know, we go up, we get on the dirt road, and this pickup truck's coming. And it's my cousins, all 4 of them. And they're in this old truck, and they throw us on the back of the truck, and we're driving up to the main road about 2.5, 3 miles. Get up on the main road, I jump off, and they were taking Shane and Chris up to tell Shane's dad that he totaled out his car. And I got out on 189, started walking in town, and my oldest cousin says, "Hey, Wilbur, stay high." And I was like, "Yeah." And then I took about 2 steps and turned around and went, no. You know, it's classic Wilbur moment. And then I shortly after that started sneaking brother's hamper and rolling dollar joints with the white zigzags, you know, and started buying the 4-finger ounces, the lids, and yeah, it escalated. And then I went 20 years without touching it. I was in the military for over 20 years, so I never touched anything. And then recently, 2015, started growing my own, started making my own RSO oil, and started vaping. I got a vape out of California from Elevation Glass. It's a dry flower vape, and it's just wonderful. And it's really brought me back to feeling like myself again. I missed it. I missed getting stoned. I'm a stoner, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, welcome back. Welcome back, Wilbur.
To start like that.
We're really glad to get to know you, man.
And so I have a question about the military, though. I always was under the assumption that there was all kinds of drugs available for people in the military. Is that true or not?
Oh yeah. We was deployed and put these antennas, took this big FPS 24, actually right there. We took that down in Port Austin, Michigan in the middle of December. After we came back from Vandenberg Air Force Base, we installed a bunch of radars out there for the space shuttle. And we came back and was taking down this antenna on the way back. All my friends were getting stoned. They were tripping. I had one friend named, I won't say any last names, but he had a lot of mushrooms and stuff like that. And I stayed away from it. For one thing, everybody in my hometown said I was never going to amount to shit. So I wanted to come up with an honorable discharge. That's the only thing that was important to me. I just wanted to say, yes, look, I can do this. I can take a lot of bullshit and you know, and I ended up, you know, I got a master's. I was a master sergeant and the NCOIC of the utility shop. So I did fairly well in it. And there's all kinds of drugs, but we were coming back from that TDY and they urinalized everybody. And out of 46 people, you know, 23 of them got discharged because they were all smoking pot and a couple of them, it was bad. So yeah, I didn't do any of that stuff. When I was civil service, my brother, the one I was talking about earlier, used to grow these plants. I wish I had his seeds because they were from Afghanistan. He grew these blue plants, purple plants from Afghanistan, and they were beautiful and really good stuff. You know, it's really like, no, I can't wait to see you guys and try a big Swami.
Oh yeah, well, you got to get out here, Wilbur.
Okay, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
fascinating.
Good story.
Thanks.
And it must be a lot of relatives you got up in that part of Maine because you said you had this cousin and his brother and his other cousin and so on. So
you know,
got some friends up there.
Everybody in my hometown. My hometown's about 900, 1,200 people. It gets really big in the summertime. All the out-of-staters come up here. It gets about 2,200 people. The town I live in is 300 people, and so you know everybody. And I actually, you know, imported new blood. I got a girl from New York, an Italian girl, and brought some new DNA up in here, you know, so we can hide in the fall.
Oh, we love those Italian girls.
That's good.
All right. All right. So moving on to Heidi. Let's see, Heidi, when and where were you? How did you first get stoned?
Oh, this will be good.
Well, this is good. As another San Franciscan who was exactly the same age as Nikki in 1969, I smoked my first weed with my friend Parky at her house in Kent Woodlands, listening to "Time Has Come Today" by the Chambers Brothers.
Time.
Right.
I got stoned. And I mean, we had her brother's weed and he was much older, so, or not much, but he was, you know, when you're 14, 17 is much older. And yeah, it's great weed. He still does. And also, I'm going to tell my great story because I'm going to include Nikki in the story, because Nikki and I went to school a block from one another here in San Francisco. We didn't know each other at the time, but there was an empty lot a block away from both schools, really. That turns out, you know, I always went there on my recess with my girlfriends and smoked weed and in our uniforms. And it turns out that Nikki went there with her girlfriends in their uniforms at the different time for their recess and smoked weed. And here we are, how many years later, still you know, embracing the lifestyle, still being champions for cannabis. And as you said, you know, we didn't know that it was for our health, and it really is and was and continues to be. And so, you know, what a great gift.
Yeah, absolutely. And how crazy, I mean, the other gift that cannabis gives us is meeting all of you. Yeah. Like, you know, Heidi, it took us 40 fucking years to finally meet, you know, and here we were just a block apart, you know, can you imagine? But it was at, you know, cannabis events in San Francisco that we finally connected. And so really, I mean, cannabis has brought us such a wonderful, wonderful group of people in our life that it's a wonderful connector.
Yeah, I just want to add to that those 14-year-old schoolgirls in their uniforms in those days were those miniskirts, right? And Nikki used to roll her miniskirt up so it was even shorter, right?
Yep.
And she would come over to North Beach to hang out in Malvinas, and that's where I was hanging out with all these other artists there. And so that's where I first met Nikki, when she was still at the Convent of the Sacred Heart in her schoolgirl uniform. So it was a while, but then actually we didn't really, what do they call it today? Hook up? Yeah, they call it that until many years later, but we were in the same kind of group of people and we're friends. So that was, it was a lot of fun back in those days in North Beach.
Oh, and growing up in San Francisco when we did, Heidi, what a blessing, I mean, my only complaint was I couldn't run away from home because I lived there already. Where was I going to run away to?
Tough deal, huh?
That's where everyone ran away to. So I just had to be home by dark. That was the family rule. You had to be home by dark for dinner. And which always really confused me. Like, didn't my parents realize you could do a whole lot in the daylight too?
Yeah, they didn't realize that. And that love-ins happened during the day.
That's right.
They were all daytime. And I'm sure they went at the night, but for those of us who are 13, 14, 15, no problem. We could go to the park and go to the and I did. Yeah, it was great.
Right.
Yeah. It was great. What a life. Well, thank you for sharing all that. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, and now we're moving over to Ed Ocho. What's that?
Could I add one more story and tie it to Rick Bibero?
Yeah,
certainly.
Well,
certainly.
I was at University of California, Santa Barbara in the early 1970s. We got some amazing Thai stick. And I fast forward to all these years later, and I found out that my friend Rick Bibero, who also grew up in San Francisco, so we have more San Francisco connections, was pretty much responsible for all that. And so
that's right.
Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Loved those Thai sticks.
Yeah, really. Okay. Okay, you're up. Yeah, really.
I love that chocolate flavor of them. Yeah. Oh man, they tasted so good. They did.
Okay, Ed, you're up.
How you guys doing? Yeah, the first time was probably around 14, about 8th grade, the same deal. But I really didn't start enjoying it till I was done with high school and done with sports in high school. And it was after a summer day, and picked it up again, and it helped my body, and realized the connection I felt with it, and the relief I felt. And even someone in the Sesh circle mentioning that, like, oh, we could see your shoulders relax, and your arms not hurting, and really just enjoying it and having a good laugh about it. And it's really that was my first, I guess, coming back to it. But ultimately I owe raising my consciousness to you two, because you guys really helped me elevate my consciousness on cannabis and everything about it. Your connection with the plant and the people that you guys affect because of the plant really done a beautiful thing. I mean, it's I could speak on it right now that it's connected my family that I haven't met and seen in over 20 years, easy. And I'm sitting right next to them, reconnected because of this plant, because of that connection and the beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Oh, thanks so much, Ed. And where were you as a kid? Where did you live when you were little?
I can't hear you. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Where did you live when you were a little guy?
I'm sorry?
Where were you living when you were little? What city?
Southern California, Orange County, Canton.
Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, you were getting the same Mexican we were then, for sure.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. It was very close. It was very convenient. My brothers were always, you'd see them picking through the shoebox, and siphon on the record label, picking out the seeds and the stem. So you're always kind of around it. You see them take the leaves and put it in the alcohol for my grandmother or an elderly family member. But you didn't, that. What?
That's good. I was just saying,
You didn't really partake. You didn't really partake. I did it then. I didn't really enjoy it as much until later. Like I said, I came back to it and found it was way back into my life, and I was comfortable with it. And it was really something like I said, it noticed, like Wilbur was saying, it just helped you reconnect with yourself in a more timely manner. It's a little bit easier to connect with your consciousness and your higher self, with this plant, as it works with your cannabinoid system and connect you back to the earth. And I really enjoy having that feeling.
Great. Yeah. And then the cannabis, the flower just keeps on giving to us, and it does raise our consciousness, you know. And to me, I always thought there was kind of like sort of a difference between being high and being stoned, you know, and I'm not sure they're quite the same thing. And at a certain point, there's a level in which cannabis gets you really high. And so I'm not sure that there's, you know, it's really maybe splitting hairs or something like that, but it does it. But what it does for me on the very first level is it heightens all your senses, you know, your sense of smell, taste, touch, and so on. But it also gets that sixth sense going. You know, it opens up that third eye. And then we start to realize that we communicate on a higher level and a different level. Kind of all the time. But, you know, then what cannabis does, it means we don't feel shy about it. I think that's one of the things. We often feel shy or you know, why, you know, I'm having these things and I can't talk about it, but cannabis helps you break through that shyness about talking about those higher things that maybe, you know, maybe other people don't know about, but when you all smoke together, you sort of share that level.
Yeah. I think that's the difference between the high and the stone, Swami, is, you know, getting high is when you're being conscious about it and you actually are really aware of what's going on. Getting stoned is when you just want to get messed up.
Nothing
you
wrong
just
with
want to
that,
get
though,
sleepy.
either,
Yeah,
really.
there's times for that too. There's times that you just got to get stoned.
We're all
you know?
effective. Yes. They all make us feel better, but we all know that I know that for sure is the key, but it feels a lot better when you know you're doing it and you're conscious of where you're getting it from, and the families and the farmers, and know that source, and the craft farmers out there. You know, I've had the luxury of meeting these people at their houses and them welcoming in me there to their home at a time in COVID when they told everybody to be afraid of each other. They were welcoming and inviting, and, you know, had me at Starflower Farms in Cabello and Down Home Farms in Nevada County, and had me there working and helping them be a part of their family. And that's what cannabis really brings us together.
Oh, great.
You know?
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
Great.
Yeah,
that's a good story.
It's, you know, they're trying to make us as corporate as they can. But, you know, us craft small farmers, we don't have to do that route. You know, we can still keep our personality, keep the consciousness around it. So that's not going to change.
That's what I appreciate about the J program, is that it gives us an opportunity to educate people on that as a backbone of this industry, and not to get forgotten about, and not to forget where you can go into the store and grab the shelf, where the history behind it is, and where the story and how this plant had to get here, and how far we still have to go. But it's really great to be a part of it, and deep gratitude for you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
okay, great.
That's great. You're doing that. Thanks, Ed.
All right.
So let's see. What about George? George, what's up with you today?
Hey guys, can you hear me good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first time I ever smoked, I don't really recall the first time I smoked, but I can remember the first time I got high. I was smoking with some friends. We were high school, probably junior year, and I just remember we snuck into the woods. We smoked the joint. We were going back to my friend's big suburban van that we crammed about a dozen of us in, and all of a sudden I look down as I'm walking through the field to head back to the van, and I see this frog hopping by. Or at least I thought it was a frog. By the time I bend down, I'm moving so slow because I'm so high that all I see at that point is a leaf. I don't know if it was the leaf the whole time or if the frog kept on going by the time I got there, but that was the point where I knew I was stoned. But then, you know, I would smoke whenever anybody would have it. I would smoke, you know, but I didn't become a daily smoker until just a few years ago, when I qualified for the medical cannabis card. And, you know, it really helps. It really helps with the anxiety and the panic attacks and things like that unfortunately I suffer from. You know, even being on video right now, like I love talking to you guys, but even now, I can feel the anxiety kind of creeping in a little bit. You know, and actually, Swami, I have to thank you. I kind of mentioned this to Nikki in an email before, but when I have very bad anxiety and very bad panic attacks, I like to find videos on YouTube to watch that'll calm me down. And that was how I discovered you. I cannot remember how I got to one of your videos on there, but somehow I must have been watching something with cannabis or something along those lines. And I discovered you, and there was something about your nature that was very calming, very soothing, So I'll put your videos on, even if they're from a few years ago, just to have on in the background if I'm having an anxiety attack. and it really helps. It really does.
Well, that's great. Oh, well, thank you. So what cultivars, what are your favorite strains for helping with your
well, right now I actually just picked up one today. This was True OG. This one seems to be helping out. It's an indica. Yeah, it seems to be helping out pretty well.
What's it smell like?
Let me pop it open real quick. Yeah, the first thing you get is a very fruity scent. Very fruity. Yeah.
Anything else?
There's a little woodsy in there. Yeah, there's a lot of, the terpene content in here is good. Correct me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but B-micrin, or however you pronounce that, that's 1.27%. Limonene is 0.17%. I don't know what your percentages are like out in California, but this is pretty good for Connecticut medical.
Wow. Yeah.
Because they kind of lean more on, at least what I see a lot of high THC content here and not so much concentration on the terpenes. So I don't know really what the terpene levels are like with like your stuff, for example, but this is pretty high for stuff that you can get here.
Well, yeah, that sounds good. That fruity. What fruit would you call it? Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different kinds of fruits. Is it citrusy or what?
Yeah, let me see one more time. Let me see.
Take another sniff.
Yeah. Yeah, citrusy. Citrusy, if I had to put my finger on it.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like a kush.
You know, what's that? That's the limonene. Limonene. There could be a dash of pinene in there. And what was that first one that you read off to bichromine or something?
Yeah, it's B. It's spelled M-Y-R-C-E-N-E.
Myrcene.
No, thank you.
Myrcene. That's the one that actually, that's probably one of the most common of the dominant terpenes, myrcene. And it is a fruity one. They say it's kind of like a little bit like a mango smell, supposedly, right?
But that'll relax.
Oh, yes. That's all right. You nailed it. That's exactly what it was. Once you said it, that's.
Myrcene is one of those ones that helps you relax.
Yeah.
So whenever you're looking, you want to try and look for something that's pretty high in myrcene, and also you kind of like the limonene, and then you can kind of dial in your choices a little better. That's great, man. And that's, you know, always trust your sniffer.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just amazing how far we've come from, you know, just smoking whatever you could get in a little baggie.
Hoping it was cannabis. Sometimes it's not what it was. And you know, to like actually being able to pinpoint the terpenes and everything else. So we've all become kind of connoisseurs here, I think, which is great.
Yeah, well, it's funny because the first time another real small quick story, the first time I ever bought it from somebody, I got ripped off. I didn't know what to look for. I'd never seen it. Anytime I smoked it, somebody else had already had it in a joint. The guy sold me ashes, but I didn't know any better. No. So needless to say, I did not get high with that.
No, in India, I've bought shoe polish for hash. I've bought incense, stick incense for hash, and you know, it just happens, you know, until you kind of get. It's a bait and switch thing can happen too, right? They show you something to give you something else, you know.
Yeah. But now, you know, Connecticut legalized, so now I'm able to grow my own. I've been talking to Nikki about that a little bit, and I got a couple plants that are going in the attic right now in my spare room that are doing really, really well. So I'm really excited about that.
Okay, good for you, man. Good for
you.
All right, we're gonna move along to
George.
Thanks, George. Move along to Bobby Burris.
Hey, Swami, Nikki, everybody.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey, I grew up in Oklahoma. Not an Okie from Muskogee, but we did smoke marijuana out there.
Yeah, right. I figured as much.
I started at about the age of 12. I had a sister that was 6 years older than me, so she was 18, and her friends, you know, they were into it, and so I got hooked up on it and fell in love with it, and grew up with a grandpa that was a gardener and saw the seeds and was like, hey, put these in dirt. Maybe I can grow some of this, you know, because I didn't know where else to get it. And so I started growing at 13 years old in 1981. And here it is 40 years later. And we just became legal here in Virginia, July 1st. Oh, right. So yeah, it's we're going in the right direction, and the federal, you know, they're making some headway this week too. So yeah, going all the way back there though, man, just smoking whatever you could get. I mean, I'm still out here. DC, they've had that Initiative 71 going on since about 2015, 16. Nothing's tested. It's still pretty much, you know, black market. You buy a t-shirt and you get, you know, for $50 and you get an eighth of weed, you know, or whatever, however they do it, you know. And I got a medical card last year. And so I've been getting some concentrates here in Virginia, and it's been okay. But I did get to visit California about a month ago, and that was wonderful. And met up with Ocho, and he we got to smoke down in San Diego together on the beach, and it was a great time. And I'm in the Ganjier program now, and I'm coming out to see you guys in 2 weeks. So yeah, I'll be turning 53 on July 29th, and that'll be my birthday present. I'll be there in person with you guys. So it's coming so full circle, I feel.
I have a question about Oklahoma when you were a kid. You know, they always talk about how it just, you know, it grows like a weed in the ditches along the road. Is that true?
In Kansas and Iowa, up a little farther north it does, but in Oklahoma it didn't. We had to go up to Kansas if you wanted to get into that hemp, and we sold a lot of that to you know, the kids that didn't know so much, and we'd go buy our good weed with their money.
Oh my God.
Well, now, have you been to Oklahoma lately? Because they just blew it wide open. They have almost no rules out there. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, no, I have a lot of friends out there, and I know a few growers that have gone out there, and I just have a little bit of knowledge, not a whole lot, but I hear that there's dispensaries on every corner, and it was kind of the medical thing that opened it up. They're still not recreational out there yet, but you can get a medical card for about anything. So,
right. Wow.
Well, that's
interesting.
Good, yeah.
Well, you're the youngest so far at 12 years old, so more power to you.
That's my sister's influence.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Sisters are good. Yeah. Well, thanks, Bobby. Looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, let's hope you get some better people growing out there now that it's legal. People, I should think, since those places grow some pretty good tobacco, you know, Virginia tobacco, you should probably really be able to grow some up in the mountains, right? You got to move up into the mountains because cannabis grows better at higher altitude because it's a different kind of sunlight, right? It's, you know, it's more of the other kind of good kind of ultraviolet light, right? And that causes the cannabis to put out more THC to protect the seeds. So you always want to grow in altitude if you can.
Okay, that's good to know. We've got the Shenandoah Mountains, and yeah, it's about 4,000 feet up there. So federal land.
Really high.
Yeah.
Well, we're at 2,600 feet, which is a pretty perfect altitude. So anywhere in there is nice. Yeah, I would say, yeah, anywhere. Robert's just asking this now. I see anywhere between about 2,000 and 4,000 is a great altitude, I would say.
It also depends on your latitude from the equator, right?
Right.
But it's all about how pure the light is that way. And it's the quality of the light too, which is, of course, they can never quite duplicate indoor, right? Because the sunlight is unique.
Yeah.
I've got two plants that are about 7 weeks. They'll be 7 weeks in the flower on Friday, so they're not quite ready to bring out. I was hoping to have some ready to bring out with me, but not quite yet. So I'll be coming out again, and I'll bring some more.
Okay,
great.
Just a note, if you're not actually speaking, please put your thing on mute because the background noise can be kind of distracting. Thank you very much. Anyway, thank you, Bobby. And I'm sure you're going to be having some good weed out there in Virginia.
Well, you're going to have some good weed really soon.
Oh, you're going to even better when you're coming out here. Yeah. That's right.
You're going to be smoking some Swami Select real soon.
We'll make sure you get a little birthday present. That's for sure.
Excellent.
Thank you. Okay. I look forward to seeing you guys.
Likewise.
And moving along now to Tim Stubbs.
Hey, Tim.
You got to unmute,
Hello.
Tim. There you go.
How are you guys?
Hey, good. How
Really
are you doing
good.
today?
So I'm actually Ocho's cousin, or his. I'm completely out of it, but he came up to visit me. So, but yeah, how are you guys doing?
I see.
Great, great. So do you got a story about when you first got high?
So let's see. The first time I ever smoked weed, it wasn't actually weed. We scraped a friend's bong and just got all the resin out of it, and that's the first thing I ever smoked. And then for a couple of years after that, all I got was like brick weed. And then probably around my 18th birthday, someone actually gave me my first actual green weed. And since then, I've never looked back. So I've been buying, my entire life. And then last year, I actually started growing my own. So, and it's been a complete change for me. So
great. And you're in SoCal also?
I'm in Northern California. So,
oh, okay.
So way up north of the valley, Red Bluff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, way up north there. Yeah, you should be able to grow some good weed up there.
Yeah, so we got some stuff outside. So I'm actually outside with them right now. But
oh yeah, you gonna show them?
Oh yeah, all
look
right.
at them.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Very nice.
Those are my big ones,
just,
brother.
They're looking good, Tim. Really.
Yeah.
But we just started on my birthday last year.
Yeah, great. Something about growing greenness. When you have greenness, and you make it happen, and it's just so magic. Growing anything really, but then when you grow your cannabis, it's even more magic because it's a direct channel right into your own consciousness, from the soil, and it really connects us with the earth. And they say it's really healthy to get your hands into dirt, right? Just to feel that you get grounded. Just like an electrical thing, and it kind of settles you down and puts you in. And, sometimes I'll be rolling a joint and people say, "What's with your fingernails, Swami?" Right. And I say, "Hey, I'm a farmer." It's like, it's that the real living stuff under those fingernails. So anyway.
Yeah, I was a carpenter for most of my life. I'm 41 now. And then last year I decided to quit doing that. And then I switched over to just doing this and just, starting to do my own thing because I didn't feel valued, and it's been the most cathartic thing in my life. So it's pretty awesome.
Good
for you.
That's
man.
excellent. Well, it's nice to meet you, Tim. Thanks for bringing him on, Ed. That's great. Yeah, that is great.
Okay, who are we over to?
Let's see. We're over to Mark Lorette. Where's that picture, Mark?
It looks like San Francisco. No,
I don't think so.
Oh, there we go. Sorry there. Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
That's actually up by Stinson Beach.
Oh, it is. Okay. You cut the right color of the sky.
Oh, yeah. At least I got the West Coast right.
Oh, yeah.
Is that where you live? Are you from there, Mark?
Nah, I live in the East Bay in Moraga.
Okay.
And so my first time, I was with my sister and I was like 14. So it was way too young, and various experiences over the years, scraping the stuff out of a pipe, stuff like that. Actually got expelled from school for that. That was a bad experience. But later on now, I have a beautiful garden. I'm not really connected up to a portable device here to show you, like the last gentleman, which I have to admire. He had some beautiful plants there. And also congratulations to everyone at Swami Select for the beautiful flower that you grow.
Thank you.
And, but that's my story.
Wow. So actually 14 seems to be about the average age here with this group, I would say.
Yeah.
And it seems that a lot of people get high with their sisters first. I've noticed,
Interesting.
And the older sisters have influence.
So, but that brings up a question to my mind. You see these billboards and saying about don't smoke when you're too young and so on. And so, but in reality, they have not done very much research on child brain development and cannabis. They just haven't done the research, right? And then likewise, when they've done the research, they've always, because of legal reasons, they've only been able to use that skunk weed or that bad weed from Mississippi, right? So the rule in any medical experiment up until now is if you were going to make a medical experiment with cannabis, everyone had to use the same cannabis. And that stuff never even really had 3% THC.
Real junky stuff.
Anything else. It was trash, right? So all medical research up until now is pretty much invalid, really. But I know, I mean, who started smoking at 14? I didn't start till 24. But at 14, do you feel it's made your brain bad? Or, I mean, is it that a negative effect? What do you say?
No.
Yeah, I would say no. I mean, I'm, still functioning at a high level,
So if you don't think, everybody raise your hand if you think it was fine, you did it. It hasn't interfered you or whatever.
So far,
right? Okay.
but I could see how it could depend on the kid.
It would depend.
Right. There's some kids that,
like
they
need to be careful.
Start psychedelics at 14, but for me it was okay.
Yeah, I told my kids to wait until they're 21, just like age, like alcohol, because their brains are still developing.
They won't wait.
They probably won't. Yeah, I know. I know that.
And you won't find out till a couple of years later, probably.
You're right. I've had some funny conversations with that. Yeah, one time. I'll finish off. So one time I was actually in a sauna room up at Lake Tahoe. And there was a bunch of kids in there getting high, like they were high school age. And so we had this funny conversation where they told me they were getting high and their fathers were getting high and never telling each other. And they were kind of hiding around, running around, actually hiding that they were getting high from each other. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, no, that always cracks me up how it's reversed the roles, how, we'll have friends come visit that bring their kids and they're like, oh, we got to go hide to get high. We don't want the kids to know we're getting high. It's like, wait a minute. This is like a real roller reversal from when we grew up. So, I think honesty probably is the best policy.
We're still dealing with 80 years of prohibition. It's all like baked into our brains. Anybody that lives in that,
even our brains,
even our brains, it's really hard to get away from it. And the last thing I'll mention is I'm really looking forward to the medicinal developments, going forward, from cannabis areas. And hoping that small farms can continue to have, develop in that area, and that there won't be like patents on, different cannabis strains and stuff like that a big pharmaceutical company could lock in something,
I don't think they're going to be able to do that, but I'm also really excited about when universities start to really do their, they have 6 graduate students and they'll have a machine for testing everything right there, and they can test every day and do all these things, right? And I think what's going to happen is they're going to really be able to dial in cultivars according to the terpene profile and the cannabis ratios. And they'll really be able to find through this experimentation that if you have this CBD, this THC, and likewise this CBC and CBG and CBN all together, and
really dial it in.
It's really dialed in, and it's really going to do the thing for that. And that's what we can look forward to. And it's actually really kind of exciting.
Another reason to get it federally legal as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when it will really start. Yeah. One last question. Sorry, you had on your Instagram page a month or two back, a special test that could determine the sex of your plants as you're planting them. It saved lives.
Yes.
And is that available just kind of for large scale growers, or is that also for a home?
No.
Oh yes, absolutely.
No, but no, small or large. Small or large can use it.
Oh,
it's just the company is called LeafWorks, LeafWorks, as one word, LeafWorks, and she's in Sonoma County. And I'm sure you could do it. Anybody can do it. And it made a huge difference. I mean, our plants got in the ground about a month earlier than normal, and they're all going to be bigger this year. And it was just a really big difference.
Yeah, well, it was really nice to know. I was growing this Panama Red for 3 months. I planted it in March, and I safeguarded this plant through good times and bad. And then, anyway, they showed it was a male, so it would have been nice earlier. So for something like that,
Wow.
Well, actually, you could use the male to cross-fertilize with another female, you see. So, but anyway, for your information, that show, we did a session with Swami with Eleanor Kuntz, who's one of the founders of the LeafWorks thing.
Okay.
And so if you go back, I think they're all on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So you can go on YouTube and look for Session with Swami with Eleanor Kuntz, and she explains all about it.
Oh,
and,
great.
You can send in, 10 or 20, or you can offer 1,500,
Just one more thing. I would love to smoke some Panama Red after all these years, because, now that we know how to grow it right, that was always my favorite of the south of the border varieties back when we were kids.
It was the designer weed of its time, right?
Yeah. Oh, it was the best. And to now be able to grow it regeneratively and with all of our, good techniques, I'd love to see what that would turn out. Yeah. Love to get some of that.
You think it's the real thing, like so many years later, or is it? I have it from a grower in Mendocino. I won't mention the name, but I'll say it's.
It may be. It probably is. Well, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, there's only one way to tell, and that's by either using the Ganjie Council SAP or just smoking it. So we'll see.
Yes. I'll report back on a future show. It'll be this October, maybe into November, before it'll be like ready.
Yeah.
So,
presumably.
So it's another start with a couple other ones. Anyway, so nice to meet you, and ciao ciao.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, we're gonna go to Sky Rainbow.
Sky, how you doing?
You have to unmute.
You have to. I'll do it for you, Sky. Where is she? Here she is.
Can you unmute? You're muted. All right.
Sky, do you know how to do your unmute button?
She does, but I guess she's not.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Are you not finished right now? Did you get more than an hour slot?
No, go right ahead, Sky. What's your story? When were you? When did you first get high? I wonder. That must be a story.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to go inside because I don't want my neighbors to hear this. I have to leave my porch, but yeah. So you've got some time. I thought you were over at.
No.
Just tell your story.
Oh, my story is going to take 5 hours.
Okay, let's get the very edited version.
The first time you smoked.
Where were you, Sky? Where were you?
I don't know if I can get into that. I just came from an art opening.
Okay. Well, then
I rushed home for that, and it's I don't know if I can get into that story. It's a long story. I actually dropped acid before I had pot.
All right. Well, that's a new one.
That's good. That's good. Well, I know you've been all over the world and you probably tried a lot of cannabis in different corners of it, right?
Yes. Speaking of Panama Red, I don't know if you know, but I used to live in South America, and the Punto Rojo was an incredible. And then there was Mango Vici. Colombia actually had 3 excellent strains that we were using in South America in the 70s.
Interesting.
Yeah. And there was Santa Marta Gold. And,
Santa Marta Gold, Punto Rojo, and it wasn't a Mango Vici, the green one. It was like 3 famous ones from Colombia in the middle 70s.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, but I was living in Peru and Bolivia then, and we heard about it through the grapevine.
Yeah. Well, that's where I first met you, I believe, in La Paz, Bolivia. And
you're kidding? I didn't remember that.
And but actually in Peru there wasn't really a lot of good weed to smoke. Really, I lived in Peru for a year and a half.
We were busy with other things.
With San Pedro, that's what it was. Yeah, we did a lot of San Pedro there, which is like peyote.
We were busy with other things, mostly white stuff.
There was white stuff too. Yeah, I was never so much into that. We used to do the pasta in Peru, that one step before the crystal. And we would smoke the pasta, but I didn't really like it that much. I was much more
I
into
still have some San Pedro in my fridge. I'm wondering when I should try it. My friend grew it here in my town.
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yeah, we have one growing here too. So anyway,
my pot story is the first time I got high. I got so high that I didn't touch it again for years. I was floating on my ceiling. I was supposed to have an interview for a job the next day. And I remember thinking, oh, they can't see me. I'm invisible. I'm floating. How am I going to do this? Anyway, it was a guy from LA who came down and got me high. He was half Mexican and half Caucasian. And wow, I mean, that was my first experience. And I thought, oh my God, if it does this, I'm not going to touch it again, So it took me a long time to get into it again because, when you're floating on your ceiling and you've never been out of your consciousness before, and you're thinking, how am I going to have this interview for this job tomorrow if I'm invisible and floating? Anyway,
right. I'm glad you figured it out, Sky, and it's come around to you well. So thanks for sharing that.
Okay,
thanks so much.
And of course, that only lasted a few years, and then I got into it because I started living in Humboldt County in early 70s. And I actually grew there because everybody grew their own. They made their own food. They ate their own deer, fished their own salmon. And this was how life was in the old days.
That's right.
Yep. Bygone days. Okay. Thanks a lot, Sky.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to the next one. Really appreciate that. Nice story. And if you could mute now, that would help us also. Okay. Now, James Hirsch, we're going to hear from you about your first time. You have to, there you go.
Hey,
Hi,
James,
everyone.
how you doing?
Doing great. Thank you.
Good.
First time was probably around 1978, keeping the average 14. And our friend Jason was over and we wanted to make some lunch, and we went into the pantry and found a little ashtray that had some seeds and stems in it. And Jason said to me and my brother, you know what this is? And we said, no. And he says, it's pot. And we said, what's that? And he said, marijuana. Then our ears pricked up, and because my dad had sat us down a few weeks before and said, if you boys ever smoke marijuana, I'll kill you. So we said, we got to try this. And we went and got I think we got a pack of cigarettes somehow, and took the tobacco out of one of the cigarettes and got the seeds and stems in there and tried to smoke the thing, and didn't really work. And somehow some older kids in the neighborhood saw us, and they brought us into their place, and they fired up a nice big bong with a big chunk of blonde hash, and
wow,
the races, just laughing hysterically, and had the munchies, and just been very into it ever since.
Started it with a bang. So where are you right now, James?
We're in Oregon. We are continuing up from California. We got here yesterday. We're in, we've been on the coast for a few days, and now we're in Hood River with a New York friend who's been out here about 30 years, and you can see his beautiful plants behind us.
Yes. Very nice. So I have a question, James.
Sure.
So that means your dad was getting high because those were his stems and
there's
seeds.
a whole story behind how that stuff ended up in the house. No, he wasn't. He apparently tried it once, and when he was visiting Aspen and one of my mother's friends, and I kind of pieced it all together later. He tried it once and didn't like it. He started smoking cigarettes again the next day after quitting for a few years. But it turns out the stuff ended up in the house because my mom's friend would visit from Aspen, and they would have tea together in the morning, and Judy would roll up a joint. And my mother, I guess, would just clean up after her and didn't know what she should do with the seeds and stems, so just saved them.
Oh, that's so funny. God. Well, I say you're pretty much a pro by now.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to
Starting out with-
improve, and I have to say, just spending time with you guys, echoing some of the other comments, just elevates it to a totally different level, and really appreciate everything you do, and it's always great spending time with you.
Thanks,
Okay, it was
James.
great having you
Likewise,
here.
likewise.
And is those Tibetan flags behind you on the wall? Tibetan prayer flags?
Maybe I'll ask Steve. He's not here right now, but probably.
It looks like. Well, give our love to Gia. Nice to see you.
Yeah, okay.
Cheers.
And happy trails and stay high. And now moving right along to Jay McDaniel. We got a story for us?
Yeah, you want to unmute yourself, Jay? You there? Let's see. Maybe he walked out of the room for a second.
Maybe, yeah.
He was certainly going crazy over a few of these other stories.
The other stories, and I love the picture where he's got 4 eyes there.
Yeah, right.
Something like that.
Oh, here he comes. Hey, Jay.
All right. Oh man, I've got you outside now. I'm trying to get it back. You're right where my air conditioner's blowing in. Hold on. I'm going to take you back to what I call the dance floor. Hold on. Got caught with my pants down. Sorry, y'all.
Oh, wow. Okay, well,
meaning I was outside.
Oh, I see. Okay. And well, in the lockdown, you never can tell what that means. But I love the picture of you with the 4 eyes there. But when you were listening to everybody else's story, you had the most amazing gesticulations, I'd have to.
That's right.
And it looked like you were, drawing out what other people were saying, and cheering for various cultivars of cannabis that we know and love.
Where are you at, Jay? I see you're muted again. Actually. Okay, maybe what we'll do is come back to you, Jay. Let's do that. When you get settled, we'll come back to you, okay? So let's move on to Robert. Robert, are you there?
Yeah,
There you are.
I'm hanging out. I was just laughing. That was a pretty good one. You said in lockdown, you never know what that could mean. That was pretty good. Caught with your pants down. The first time I got high is a pretty good story. I think it was with like 3 buddies. I was with 3 buddies over at my buddy's lake house, and we made a tinfoil bowl. And we had got something from one of the older brothers, obviously. So we were hiding out in the living room trying to get it all ready. And then the older brother comes in and he's like, "Hey, Mrs. Barnes." And he like makes this whole big deal to where we're all scared about like our buddy's mom, because when you're a kid, we were probably like, I think 13 years old. So we're like, oh no. And then he had like took the bigger bag of weed, but we had the 1 tinfoil bowl packed. So we all went outside way back by the lake and smoked the 1 tinfoil bowl. And we didn't really feel high. We were just like, do you feel anything? We weren't sure if it wasn't like, it was just a first time thing or if it wasn't not enough weed or not. But like later on, that's when we started getting some really good effects and stuff. I think the best story is just like eating your first like high milligram edible. That's always like psychedelic,
Tell us that one.
Yeah. That was at High Times in 2015 in Michigan. And I was at Clio Cultivation for a camping festival. And we ate a 15 milligram brownie and we made it to High Times and we left for the concert and went back to Clio Cultivation. And I think he ended up partying and I ended up passing out, but I woke up and I felt like I was floating. I think I heard somebody else talk about it. You always get like a floating effect when you're really, really stoned. And you're just like, I just felt like I was floating around the campground. It was just such a stony high. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But we're out of here in Wisconsin. I'm just I'm close to the Illinois border. I've been trying to get into the cannabis industry for years. And Illinois won't take me on because I'm not actually living in Illinois, but I live close to Rise dispensary. They make $250,000 a day. They're a pretty profitable dispensary. Yeah. They're Rise Mundaline. Yep. They're a pretty profitable dispensary and they won't bring me on. I joined the Ganjier to expand my knowledge though. And I love it. I've been studying for the last 15 years.
Great.
So good.
That's
I love your guys' program. I appreciate you guys.
Well,
so Robert, what are the legalities in Wisconsin these days? Is it legal there?
Oh no, it's definitely not. I shouldn't put my name out there at all. It's not at all. It's the complete opposite. Yeah, our governor wanted to legalize it, but we're having a lot of problems where they don't want to they don't want to follow through and put it on the budget. So I've been trying to join. I've been like active with Normal, but there was some drama in the Normal in Wisconsin recently. So we're still trying to get a big push with like petitions and stuff. But I'd rather stay out here for a clean slate and battle for my state than escape. You know, I did that already. I moved to Colorado in 2014, and I'd rather be here, you know? So.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm going to say this. It's grassroots organization, and I both include the pun and not, you know, and, you know, as you, the hub collection, right. You know, if you got to get people together and start organizing and, you know, talking to your local politicians and so on. And,
activism first. Activism
exactly.
first, right? Yeah, it's all about unionizing and uniting a diverse community and getting social equity and getting what's right. So, you know, they're not doing the right thing in Illinois. And I've been trying to tell a lot of people. He's the manager out there, and he's now trying to get me in at Rise. But now that I've started my own little thing, I love it. You know, I just love being passionate about my own little thing and talking about what I can and keep pushing on pioneers. You know, we're pioneers for the industry in a sense. And I love what you guys did with the Ganjier program. I got my jeweler's loop from Derek Gilman.
Yeah, okay, great.
Thank God for Derek Gilman.
Great.
That's an awesome program. I appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Robert, we'll keep up the good fight.
Yeah, we're all out here to break.
You know, you also want in Wisconsin. I think you could grow some really good outdoor, really good sun grown. So I think you want to push for that because I think Illinois has to be indoor. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so that means it's a whole kind of way of growing, which isn't, it's got to be improved on anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's definitely great growing atmosphere out here. And I love what you guys do with the regenerative farming aspect because we're all about just industrial agriculture out here in Wisconsin. And we've really ruined our soil out here. It's not as fertile as it has been. I like how you preached about we were one of the most forward fighting states too back in the day. You know, I really wish we lost our way recently, and Wisconsin needs to get back to our roots. We really do.
The whole dairy industry too, you know, is part of that situation. And, but you know,
the Wisconsin Tavern League, sorry for cutting you off. The Wisconsin Tavern League is the #1 lobbyist company against legalizing marijuana. And that's a lot of the reason why the governor couldn't pass it on the budget because they got a lot of big money in alcohol, and then with the tavern leagues, the Wisconsin Tavern League is one of them. Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
All right.
Well, I hope that changes.
Keep it up, man. You're working on it. Good.
Thanks, Robert.
Okay, let's
go back to Jay.
Jay McDaniel.
You got your pants back on?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I normally hang out most of the day on what I call the dance floor, which is just a term for my garage, because I've been married for 33 years. I've smoked marijuana daily since I was 15 when I could get a job. Started when I was 13 in 1983, which we will get to. But I had to go out of the garage because they opened the door and I was ready to, do my thing after I got caught outside watering my tomatoes right next to my air conditioner. When you guys called me, I was like, oh, damn, it's so noisy out here. I got to go, girls. I'll be back.
Gotcha.
And so y'all caught me running around the circle 9 times. So now I'm in my bedroom, but I can't smoke with you inside because I've been outside for 33 years. And I love my bride, and that's a sacrifice I make, and people get mad at me for having to go to the dance floor. But it is what it is.
That's sweet. That's great. Where are you at, Jay? What state are you in?
I am in Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Little Rock, Arkansas.
Wow.
And like I said,
what are your rules like there?
Oh, harsh. We do have medical marijuana. There are 5 cultivators for the entire state's 26 dispensaries, and they sell intersexing buds for $50 an eighth as medicine. And now they're just now culling the intersexers early and sending them to moonshine producers to create wax and concentrate and things that I'm trying to learn how to appreciate because I'm in the Ganjier program. And that's what I was smoking in the dance floor. And I wanted to share with you guys, but I can't now because I'm inside.
Oh, but that's so interesting. The moonshiners are getting into the business. Wow.
Well, you know, if you're going to grow a CD hermaphrodite that's going to taste like wax paper and pepper, no matter, even if it's the most beautiful Hawaiian skunk you've ever tried before, put it in moonshine. I don't want to taste it. I don't want to pay $50 an eighth for, air quotes, my medicine, because I'm a felon. I'm considered a felon if I provide for myself by, God forbid, if I were to even think about growing indoors. Who said that? Oh, shut up. Okay. That was a bad idea. That would never happen. As you can see, I do have my favorite breeder's t-shirt on here. Anna Queen Genetics. She's a fellow Southerner. She's got some great, everybody's got polyhybrids, right? But she's digging up vertically in history to grab flavors and tastes that I've not had since I was 15 or 16 years old in record stores. And she's calling back experiences I had in record stores from breeds she's growing. And I'm a tester with her group. So that was a little byproduct. Sorry, didn't mean to use this as a business thing. That's probably illegal and bad etiquette, wasn't it?
No, don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. We're always interested in hearing about other people who are growing, especially if they have special cultivars. You know, it's our culture. We need to honor those people who've done that work.
Coming to see you in September, and I got one coming down in about 7 days. So if I can somehow figure out a way to maybe magically transport it out there with a teleportation machine, you might get to try some sweaty Wookiees.
Yeah. There you go. That'd be great, Jay. Well, good. We'll look forward to meeting you.
But real quick, first time I ever smoked weed, 13 years old. I was a type A student and quarterback. I've got a master's degree in computer science and mathematics. Got run over by a car when I was 33 in 2004 in a crosswalk. But at 13, I was a superstar quarterback. Crushed my hip playing basketball, of all things, for a Scotch Irish egg. I was playing basketball. I don't know what I was thinking. Crushed my hip, took out of athletics for 3 years because I was on crutches. But I was still part of the team management. The manager of the football team when I was 13 said, "Hey, J-Mac, you're always on crutches and everything. You're pretty smart. You ever heard about this wacky weed?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, what are you talking about? I know about marijuana." And I didn't know squat. You know, I was just trying to be cool because I was a nerd, sort of, who was an athlete. So I was accepted, but I was a smart. My mother and father were both academicians. So I started when I was 13 with Jimbo, the football manager. And I smoked on and off the next year because he went to high school and I missed a sort of a supply line. And then when I was 15 and got my license to drive early and so I could work, I got a full-time job and I started buying a quarter a week. And every single day, I was rolling them up and getting down to the end and, saving it up and smoking the roaches. And that's been happening until today. And I've held down 4 professional jobs in the IT sector and had to examine, I had to herbal cleanse for 48 hours and drink 9 gallons of water before I pee-peed. So I'd be dilute, and they can't do anything about a dilute test. And I'd go dilute test about 6 times in a row. And they'd finally go, he just drinks lots of water. And I was like, yeah, when you're going to give me an examination, I'll drink water all day. I'm made of it. But yes, that's it. Sorry, I will spill. Thank you for giving me the Ganjier program.
Oh, well, welcome. Actually, that takes us to our final person here, who is Derek Gilman, and the founder of the Ganjier program, really, the guy who helped us put it all together, Mr. Ganjier himself.
Along with Max Simon, And yeah.
Hey,
and
Derek.
So, yeah. So actually, maybe you tell us your first story, and then maybe you could tell a little bit about how the background story about how the Ganjier Council got started. But first of all, tell us about your first smoke.
Absolutely. Hey guys, I'm super happy and stoked to be here. I love these session with Swami sessions that you guys put on. And I just wanted to mention real quick before I get into my story, I loved the last session that you guys had with Rick Barbero and listening to those stories. And so I recently received my copy of his book. I have not crawled into it yet, but I am super looking forward to doing so.
Well, thank you.
I just needed to give Rick a shout out here. I love listening to those stories, man.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I hope to meet you someday in person.
Yeah, we'll meet at Swami's. We can meet at Swami's.
There you go. I like
That's
that.
a great plan.
You need to organize that, Nikki.
Okay, I will. I will. Okay.
Okay, so first time I got high, let me start out by saying earlier Heidi had mentioned, I believe it was, that the first time she got high was in 1969. Well, I was born in 1969 to a couple of hippies. And so some of my earliest, actually, really some of my earliest memories, maybe 5, 6 years old, is sitting in the smoke circle and being that chain in the link where the joint's just coming through and it needs to get to that next person. And I certainly wasn't taking a hit at that point, but they needed some help. And so I would just take it and pass it along through the chain. Yeah, and it's just a super fond memory.
That's a pretty unique story.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, well, the fun, yeah, anyhow, I remember also, so I was born in South Florida, and my folks, again, being hippies, some of their friends were importers, some of their friends were dealers, and so they were in the mix. And I remember coming home from school in 3rd grade, and there were 4 hay bale sized bales of cannabis spread throughout the house. There's one in the living room. There's one over in the spare bedroom. So yeah, that's another indelible memory of my childhood. So even with all that exposure to cannabis at such a young age, I didn't first try cannabis until 1985 when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, a sophomore in high school. And I just came home one day, and I can't specifically remember what motivated me, but I remember my folks were out, and I went and I found my dad's little short brown ceramic bong that he never cleaned. I could still taste that nasty resonated bong water that he was using to filter his smoke, and loaded up a little bong hit and took that bong hit, and it felt good and it spoke to me. And I'm happy to say I've been smoking almost daily ever since.
Huh. So when your parents came home, did you tell them?
No, and that's the funny thing. As open as they were, it took me about a year to a year and a half before I opened up to them about it. And then, yeah, ultimately just started smoking with them.
Cool. That is so cool. And
Yeah.
do they still get high?
My mom has passed, and my dad does still get high and does still cultivate on a small scale.
Sweet.
Yeah, outdoors in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
I see. But you're growing now where? Down in where is it you live in?
It's Ojai.
In Ojai, right?
I'm in Ojai, exactly. Yeah. I got some beautiful girls out in the backyard. The Wi-Fi doesn't reach that far. Otherwise, I'd love to show them off to everybody. But yeah, they're doing stellar, and I'm really excited for this year's crop.
Yeah. And
Hey,
so,
Derek,
and we'll see you.
I guarantee your parents knew you were pinching their weed.
So Heidi, I was completely pinching their weed. So, there's a couple standout memories there too. I remember my dad scored a couple of elbows from some other local grower, a couple pounds from some other local grower here in the Ojai Valley. And they were just these beautiful spears, just these beautiful, just homogeneous spears. And so I'd pinch one of those every other week. But the one that was the real standout for me was he used to travel a lot. And he came back from San Francisco one time, and he brought back an ounce of just this beautiful San Francisco skunk bud, is what we called it. And there were these just little rock hard nugs of the skunkiest stuff of all time. Shortly after he brought that home, he went and left on another trip overseas. So he couldn't take it with him. So he stashes this, you know, was maybe 3/4 of an ounce, okay, of this prized skunk bud. And not, you know, an hour after he left for the airport, I'm looking for it. And it was like Toucan Sam, you know, where the aroma's wafting through the air, and my nose took me to this bag of skunk that he had stashed into a pocket of this leather jacket hanging in the closet.
Oh my God, was Eddie left when he got home?
He came home, and as I just took just a little bit, but it was so tasty. But he totally knew when he got back, he was not pleased. You're going to pay me back for this. You're going to pay me back for this.
Well, you're paying him back in another way. So you want to talk a little bit about how the Ganje program got started way back when with Max, and because I don't really know that much about it, how it's really got started anyway.
Well, I'd be happy to. And you guys were there at the very beginning. You know, Max and I, you know, had separate motivations that drew us to it, but that were in alignment. Max recognized that whenever he went to a dispensary, he was getting shitty service, just to be frank. You know, that for the most part, bud tenders did not, and unfortunately still do not, and I'm not speaking about all bud tenders, don't get me wrong, but enough, the majority, just don't have the knowledge and experience to accurately and reliably guide the wide variety of consumers that are coming through their doors. And so that was Max's motivation. My motivation, you know, Green Flower hired me to do cultivation content. And through that, I came up and began visiting farms such as yours, such as Casey O'Neill's, Mean Jeans, Kevin Jodry's farm. And I got to know the craft farmers. I got to know you guys. I got to know your product. And it's obvious to anyone who's had the opportunity or pleasure to experience genuinely craft grown cannabis of the right genetics under the optimal terroir, done under the caring hands of the right farmer. The product that comes out, that flower is extraordinary. It's noticeably different to those who have had the opportunity. Not everyone's had that opportunity. Many people's experience is limited to just a small variety of stuff. So anyhow, I recognized that craft farms and craft products weren't getting the recognition that they deserved in the marketplace, especially when you go into a dispensary and the menu and the prices were based upon THC levels that a lab test said. Okay. Well, again, once you've had some experience with cannabis, you quickly realize that it's not the THC levels, it's not the potency always that you're looking for that makes for a pleasurable experience. It's the flavor. It's the type of experience you have. Does it motivate me? Does it relax me? Long story long, I guess. I realized that craft farms weren't getting the recognition they deserved. Max thought the bud tenders could use some more education. We saw more and more consumption lounges and dispensaries opening, and realized it was time to do something about it. Every other gustatory-based product, wine, coffee, chocolate, cheese, has professional trained experts that define and recognize the quantitative areas that define quality. And so that's effectively what we did with the Ganjier program, is we decided that cannabis deserved a cannabis sommelier, for lack of a better word, and to be more precise in this instance, a Ganjier. And so we decided, we studied all the sommelier programs, the chocolatier programs, the cheesemonger, the Cicerone for beer program, and realized that we needed this strong foundational base of knowledge that we wanted to equip our students with, in addition to a skill set. And so when it came to the knowledge, we quickly realized that between Max and I, we didn't have all the knowledge, even though we're a couple smart guys and we know a lot about cannabis. But we had a wonderful network of people like you, like Kevin Jodrey, like Jeffrey Raber in science, like Josh Werzer and Alec Dixon from SC Labs, Patrick the Soil King, Frenchie when it comes to concentrates, Nick Tannum when it comes to solventless concentrates. We had this network of people. We reached out to each of you, and gratefully, you all said yes, and you understood what we were looking to do. So we got 18 of the industry's top experts to come together, curate, and develop this program. And we launched it a few months ago. We just a few weeks ago had our first live in-person training. A couple of the students are here today that were in that training, Robert and Ocho, and we had a great time. And it's a neat program. That's it. That's my pitch.
Yeah, well, that's oh yeah. Thank you for that background information. Yeah, and I think we're kind of running over time here a little bit, but thank you everyone for sticking with us, and we loved all those stories. That was really fun. A lot of fun.
That was great to hear from all of you guys, all these stories. Thank you so much.
And listen, Robert here has been showing things on the screen. He showed there's a whole kit you get from the Ganjier Council, which is this is the terpene testing samples. These are all the different terpenes labeled and so on: beta caryophyllene, humulene, pinene, terpinolene, so on and so on and so forth. And then I
saw you also had the jeweler's loop.
And then you have the jeweler's loop also that all the Ganjier people wear around their neck. It's almost like a doctor's stethoscope. Right, it's going to be your symbol and so on. Yeah, we met two people from the Ganjier program last weekend, and they each had their little loop around their necks. So it's kind of neat, the whole thing. And anyway, we're looking forward to the end of the month when we have our
class.
Get
to meet you, Bobby.
And get to meet a few of you guys here and so on. It'll be fun. So anyway, that's it.
This has been such fun. So we're going to. take a little lovely, Robert. We're going to take a little break from the sessions just because now is the time of year where we get super busy in the garden, and we'll be we're going out on the road a lot now that COVID's over. We have no excuse we can't just stay here on the ranch like we sometimes want to. But we're having a lot of fun going out and seeing everybody in person again and getting to know them. And hopefully also, we'll see some of you out there soon.
Right. Keep track if you want to, sometimes we'll be in a dispensary in your neighborhood, although I don't think Maine and Michigan quite yet, or Wisconsin, or Arkansas. But on our website, if we're going to be in a dispensary, you can and then you come by and say hello, and we'll see you then and talk then. So, but until then,
wow, it's just been a lot of fun. We'll be back after harvest. We'll be able to show you our fresh flowers at that point.
Yeah.
And stay in touch. If anyone's in the area, September 18th, I think we're going to be having another small farmers market up here in Laytonville, our little town in Mendocino County. We had one last weekend that was a huge success. There were 15 small craft farmers, and just to be able to actually talk one-on-one with people again and be out there in public, it was just a joy. So I hope you can come up and join us for that. It might be worth a trip from Maine and Arkansas and Virginia, etc., up in Wisconsin. So yeah, if you can make it out, come on out.
There are other farmers up here who are same quality as we are, with a different style and so on. So anyway, thank you you all for being part of this. It's really been a lot of fun for us, and we'll catch you later. And stay high.
Much love and blessings to everybody. Thanks so much for joining us.
In 2 weeks.
It's been a great season. Bye-bye.
Bye.